by the captain of the ship. There were a series of hearings over the next 6 months. On June 22, 1772, Lord Mansfield said that slavery was so odious, and he used the word odious, that the common law would not support it, and he ordered James free. At that moment, James Somerset underwent a legal transubstantiation. The free man who walked out of the courtroom looked exactly like the slave who had walked in, but as far as the law was concerned, they had nothing whatsoever in common. The next thing we did is that the Non-Human Rights Project, which I founded, then began to look at what kind of values and principles do we want to put before the judges. What values and principles did they imbibe with their mother's milk? Were they taught in law school? Do they use every day? Do they believe with all their hearts? And we chose liberty and equality. Now, liberty rights is the kind of right to which you're entitled because of how you're put together. And a fundamental liberty right protects a fundamental interest. And the supreme interest in the common law are the rights to autonomy and self-determination. So they are so powerful that in a common law country, if you go to a hospital and you refuse life-saving medical treatment, a judge will not order it forced upon you, because they will respect your self-determination and your autonomy. Now, an equality right is the kind of right to which you are entitled because you resemble someone else in a relevant way, and there's a relevant way. So if you're that, then because they have the right, you're like them, you're entitled to the right. Now, courts and legislatures draw lines all the time. Some are included, some are excluded, but you have to, at the bare minimum, you must. That lines has to be a reasonable means to a legitimate end. The Non-Human Rights Project argues that drawing a line in order to enslave an autonomous and self-determining being like you're saying behind me, that's a violation of equality. We then searched through 80 jurisdictions. It took us 7 years to find the jurisdiction where we wanted to begin filing our first suit. We chose the state of New York. Then we decided upon who our plaintiffs are going to be. We decided upon chimpanzees, not just because Jane Goodall was on our board of directors, but because Jane and others have studied chimpanzees intensively for decades. We know the extraordinary cognitive capabilities that they have, and they also resemble the kind that human beings have. And so we chose chimpanzees, and we began to then canvass the world to find the experts to find the experts in chimpanzee cognition. We found them in Japan, Sweden, Germany, Scotland, England, and the United States. And amongst them, they wrote 100 pages of affidavits in which they set out more than 40 ways in which their complex cognitive capability, either individually or together, added up to autonomy and self-determination. Now, these included, for example, that they were conscious, but they're also conscious that they're conscious. They know they have a mind, they know that others have minds, they know they're individuals and that they can live. They understand that they lived yesterday and they will live tomorrow. They engage in mental time travel. They remember what happened yesterday. They can anticipate tomorrow, which is why it's so terrible to imprison a chimpanzee, especially alone. It's a thing that we do to our worst criminals, and we do that to chimpanzees without even thinking about it. They have some kind of moral capacity. When they play economic games with human beings, they'll spontaneously make fair offers. Even when they're not required to do so, they're numerate. They understand numbers. They can do some simple math. They can engage in language or to stay out of language wars. They're involved in intentional and referential communication in which they pay attention to the attitudes of those with whom they are speaking. They have culture. They have a material culture, a social culture. They have a symbolic culture. Scientists in the Tivors in the Ivory Coast found chimpanzees who were using these rocks to smash open the incredibly hard hulls of nuts. It takes a long time to learn how to do that, and they excavated the area and they found that this material culture, this way of doing it, these rocks had passed down for at least 4,300 years through 225 chimpanzees generations. So now we needed to find our chimpanzees. First we found two of them in the state of New York. Both of them would die before we could even get our suits filed. Then we found Tommy. Tommy is a chimpanzee. You see him behind me. Tommy was a chimpanzee. We found him in that cage. We found him in a small room that was filled with cages in a larger warehouse structure on a used trailer lot in central New York. We found Kiko, who is partially deaf. Kiko was in the back of the cement storefront in Western Massachusetts, and we found Hercules and Leo. There are two young male chimpanzees who are being used for biomedical anatomical research. At Stony Brook, we found them. And so on the last week of December 2013, the Non-Human Rights Project filed 3 suits all across the state of New York using the same common law writ of habeas corpus argument that had been used with James Somerset. And we demanded that the judge issue these common law writs of habeas corpus. We wanted the chimpanzees out, and we wanted them brought to save the chimps. A tremendous chimpanzee sanctuary in South Florida, which involves an artificial lake with 12 or 13 islands. There are 2 or 3 acres where 2,000 chimpanzees live on each of them, and these chimpanzees would then live the life of a chimpanzee with other chimpanzees in an environment that was as close to Africa as possible. Now all these cases are still going on. We have not yet run into our Lord Mansfield. We shall. This is a long-term strategic mitigation campaign. We shall end. To quote Winston Churchill, the way we view our cases is that they're not the end. They're not even the beginning of the end, but they are perhaps the end of the beginning. Thank you.